You're listening to a proud member of the FightFans Radio Network.
All right, brand new episode, FanAddicts MMA Show. I am your host, Erika Lewis. We are in a brand new format today. I don't know if David is even aware of all the changes that we've gone through in the last couple of weeks.
I'm not aware of any of them.
So we are the FightFans Radio website is up and running.
I'm aware of that.
And you can listen to us live on our website. We are also streaming through Stitcher Radio, which is an app you can download on your iOS and Android phones if you so choose. We are... I don't remember all the places, but there's a bunch of shit. Go to the website. It's all up there. I don't have time to remember all that crap. But it's good to be back. How is it going, David? It feels like forever since we last spoke.
It's been a long time. I mean, there was last week's robbery, which took place. It was a robbery.
Oh, wow. Let's start off with that then. You started off with that. So apparently you had Frankie Edgar winning that. No,
I'm being completely ironic. I did have Edgar winning, but I didn't think it was in any way a robbery. Although after the fight ended and before the decision was announced, I wrote, "What a robbery" on my Facebook page, and that proceeded to get a lot of likes. But I knew in the before the fifth round started, I wrote, I hope this ends because no matter who loses, people are going to be saying it's a robbery. And that's what happens every close fight. And you had what I thought were 3 through 5. I thought all those rounds were super close and could have gone to either guy. So I don't know. I could have seen Henderson winning, and I could have even seen the score that one of the judges had for Frankie, 4 rounds to 1. I could see that, but that's not how I scored it. But
what rounds did you give Ben Henderson? That seems to be the biggest
I actually
point of
only
contention.
gave Ben Henderson the first round. I scored the third 10-10, and I gave the others to Frankie. But I thought the fourth and fifth were very, very close.
I thought the fifth round, that Ben Henderson ended the round a lot stronger than Frankie Edgar, and that's why I gave him the fifth round. I definitely gave him the first round, and I gave him the third round. I didn't score the third round at 10-10. I don't know why I didn't. Probably because I was too busy pushing buttons for Fight Metric backstage.
I don't know. The third through fifth rounds, I think, reasonably could have been scored for either guy.
Yeah.
Or 10-10. And that's why it's not a robbery. It's just a...
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, I'm not even sure it's a bad decision. But it's definitely not a robbery. And, when you call it a robbery, it just dilutes the impact of something like Shogun Machida 1 or Matt Hamill against the Brit. What's his name? Bisping.
Yeah.
Those are robberies. This was a very, very close fight. Super close. Closer than their first fight. Ben Henderson was doing a lot of damage with those leg kicks, landing a lot of blows. To say that Frankie got robbed, I think, is a little outrageous.
I agree with you. As always, real quick, the number to call is 410-988-6525 if you want to share your thoughts about UFC 150, the main event. Really the card other than the main event, which is really what I was looking for. I thought the Giard and Cerrone fight was exciting for a one round fight. We saw Cerrone get really rocked. I don't know if we've ever seen him get rocked like that before.
So.
We saw him get really, really rocked. He was smart about it. He recovered, and he came away with the TKO win. I love how Giard landed face down, and you saw Cerrone going immediately for a rear naked choke before the referee kind of called the fight there. But you saw him, he wasn't going for a punch. He was actually trying to slide his hand up underneath Giard's neck before the fight was called. So But where does Giard go from here? He seems to falter every time he faces I wouldn't even say top competition, even though I think Donald Cerrone is one of the best lightweights in the world. I don't know if he's top 5, but top 10, top 15. But it seems like if Giard faces anybody that's on his level or above, he loses. So what does the UFC do with him now? He's a charismatic fighter. When he does fight, he gets good highlight reel knockouts most of the time.
Which Cohee? Cohee. Cohee, we need you.
He dissed
I don't know
us.
what the hell you do with Gillard, but I'm sure Justin had a great suggestion.
I can't believe he dissed us like that. I mean...
Did he write Cohee's corner with any suggestions?
Yeah, he did.
Pull it up. Let's just use that.
I am going to go to FightFansRadio.com and look at what the Cohee's corner says. And
I'm sure he's got a good idea for Gillard because I have none. Gillard, like you say, mid-level at best.
Yeah. His suggestion, as he talks in the article, again, read the article on FightFansRadio.com, but he says with Melvin Gillard that he is thinking Jamie Varner, that would be a good fight to happen. I think it would be, with Jamie Varner's really good boxing, and, it would be a stand-up fight. Although Varner does have really good wrestling, Giard does have wrestling as well, even though we don't really get to see it that often. I think that'd be an exciting fight. What do you think?
I'll take credit for it. Yeah, I'm going to suggest Jamie Varner. I think Varner versus Gillard would be a really good matchup.
I think that is an amazing matchup that you made there. I hope Cohee doesn't get jealous that you're talking to Joe Silva as well.
That's right out of Wolf's Corner. The Wolf's Lair.
The Wolf's Lair. I'm saying we need to have you start writing, man. We need to have you write a couple of articles. I know you've got some really good, strong opinions. I think you could really make an impact. I'm gonna peer pressure you into it. That's what's gonna happen here.
I can write some stuff, but I have to, be in the mood to write it. I have to, want to write about something.
Yes. Yeah. Oh no. I
don't like the force.
Oh no. I wouldn't do that to the wolf. I can't contain the wolf. I have to let the wolf roam free, and when he's ready, he will do it. All right. So that main event, controversial for a lot of people. I was glad to see Ben Henderson win. And I guess this is a good time to kind of segue into another topic that we have to talk about, which is the UFC on Fox 5 card that has been announced.
Awesome.
That is an amazing card. And we only know 3 of the 4 bouts that are going to be on
the
card.
You know what, though? It's December, so it's like 4 months for guys to get injured.
Don't say
whether
that.
This actually takes place.
Don't say that. Stop that. I'm going to be doing some... I'm going to get some 4-leaf clovers and some
I'd like to look at the
horseshoes.
stats and see the odds that these 3 fights take place. I bet you
at least one of them will get at the very minimum.
At least one's going to disappear, and who knows? By December, that's a long time for guys to get hurt.
That is true. That's very true.
That's what I'm thinking. That was the first thing I was thinking. I was like, this looks great, but come on, they've had so many main events that have changed. I mean, they better hope this. Ben Henderson and I'm trying to think. Ben and Nate Diaz seem very durable. I don't think they've ever pulled out of a fight.
No,
So hopefully that's got a good chance of taking place. Shogun, who knows?
Yeah, that's the
Even
one.
If he shows up, he's only going to be able to go for 30 seconds. That's what she said.
To be honest with you, that's the fight that if I had to place money on anything, or which I should get somebody on here to help place a bet. If I had to place a bet, I would definitely put a little bit of money on either Shogun or Gustafsson getting hurt and having to pull out of that fight.
Hopefully, Rory McDonald doesn't, bang his head against some type of.
Do you think that really happened now? Is it kind of funny that happened and then they immediately line up BJ Penn for a free card on Fox, or is that just a happy coincidence?
Wasn't there a picture? I mean, it could have been Photoshopped,
I don't know.
I guess.
Was there a picture? Does anybody know?
Yeah, I saw a picture of McDonald, and it looked like a pretty bad gash. But, who knows with photos these days? I mean, anything's possible.
Or makeup artist. Really good makeup artist. What is this? Gash. Should I look that up? Rory McDonald gash.
It's going to show you a vagina.
I hope not. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look horrible. I mean, it looks.
it looked like you need the stitches.
I mean, it needed stitches, but I don't know. Like I was expecting like
I don't know. It's a
Diego.
free fight now, so I don't have to pay for it. I'm not getting the
Yes.
pay-per-view that they were going to be on, and I was going to get it because that fight and some of the other fights on there. And now
Yeah.
I'm not going to. Now I'm going to stream it.
I
said it. That's right. I said it. UFC, you have to give me like 3 fights that I want to pay for me to get a pay-per-view. You can't just give me a main event and other fights that I, don't mind watching, but that I don't want to pay to see. It's not happening. No, sorry. Dan Henderson against John Jones. I'm not paying for anything else on that card. So I'm not paying for that pay-per-view. Not going to happen.
I will actually be at that card.
That's awesome. That's worth it. But I'm not paying $50 to watch John Jones against Dan Henderson. That's what I'd be doing.
Hold on a second. I got some Twitter messages on here. Apparently from...
Are they from me?
Yes, one of them is from you saying that you'll definitely write for us, but we have to show you the money. And then the doc from that other sports show replied and says, "No one's getting paid. This job is like helping out a kid's hospital." Nice guys.
A retarded kid's hospital.
Exactly. Nice guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, seriously.
Team efforts right there. So this is actually kind of a good segue. I don't know. Did you want to talk about the Fox card a little bit more, or?
We could talk about it a little more.
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about it a little bit more because I wanted to use your little rant about paying for pay-per-views, but we'll go back to that.
I'd pay for that Fox card if that were a pay-per-view. I'd absolutely pay for that Fox card.
I think a lot of people. I mean, I think that if it was a pay-per-view, it would bring in big money. So let's talk about numbers then. The lineup is, if you don't know, thus far without injuries, is going to be main evented by the title fight between Ben Henderson and Nate Diaz. Very, very smart by the UFC. They struggled with pay-per-view buys with their lighter weight guys. Put them on this Fox card. If you're not getting the returns on your pay-per-views, put it. People love to see title fights, and they may be wary to spend $60 on one, but you can get a few million people to show up for a free one on Fox. And I think I agree. I think it's an exciting matchup. And although we're not doing predictions right now, speaking of predictions, be sure to check out Fantasy.
This is not a prediction, but if Nate Diaz does win, this can really catapult both Nate and Nick into the biggest superstars in UFC at this point.
Absolutely.
If Nate were to pull this off.
Absolutely.
As a brother combo, and Nick will be coming back, and he's pretty close to a title fight, pretty close to a fight with GSP. I mean, the Diaz brothers got to keep an eye on them. And Nate may win this fight. It's going to be a tough fight. Well, Nate can absolutely win.
There was an argument yesterday on the Untethered where Mike and Sublo were saying that Nick Diaz is not the draw that everybody thinks he is. And that may be true in reality, but he has so much potential to be huge draw for the UFC if he can stop.
And who do you think they were paying for to see him fight Carlos Condit? Carlos Condit?
Yeah, no.
That fight did good numbers, right?
Yeah, it did.
I'm not remembering it correctly. That was all Nick Diaz.
I mean,
Nick Diaz wasn't always a huge draw, but he's becoming one. He certainly is one because his fight with Carlos Condit did numbers. Carlos Condit can't do numbers with anyone except an opponent that could do numbers.
Yes.
Nick's a draw. Nick's a draw. Might be their third biggest draw right now, behind GSP and John Jones. And who knows where GSP stands? I have to believe GSP is still huge.
Somebody was trying to make the argument that there was research done saying Rashad Evans.
I heard that the other week. That was so absurd. If you added up every pay-per-view they've ever been on, but look at the numbers when they main event. Rashad does great numbers with a good opponent. He did the million buys with Rampage. Rashad is a draw with a great opponent, but John Jones is a draw by himself. GSP is a draw by himself. Broccoli, those are guys who could draw just by their names alone.
Right.
Rashad can't do that.
No, he cannot. And I did have the fortune of meeting him at the in Denver. That was.
I like Rashad.
He's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. I have some problems with some of the decisions he's made lately, both as a fighter and as a father. But I guess everybody. So, well, no, he remember in the countdown show. It wasn't the countdown show. It was the prime time where he talked about how he misses his kids and he doesn't like being away from them. Then, motherfucker, why'd you move to goddamn Florida? Your kids are in Chicago. Like, there wasn't someplace near there that you could go, or was it just the palm trees that sold it for you? I have a problem with that. Like,
you're tough. You're a tough judge.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, how long have you known me, David? I will judge you in a second.
I know.
I'm a judgy McJudgerton. I make no apologies for it.
My 7 kids are scattered all over the U.S. and 2 other continents as well.
Oh, boy. I can't wait to see the Twitter messages about that. David Wolf admits to having 7 kids across the U.S.
That's what I know about.
What you know about? Oh, my God. This is going to be a good one. This is going to be fun. Who else on the card? Shogun Rua versus Gustafsson. Alexander Gustafsson.
Tommy Toehold Shogun was hilarious. It's just the way I breathe. That was awesome. That was great.
I thought Shogun looked pretty awful in that fight against Vera. And I don't expect him to look much better in this fight against Gustafsson. I think Gustafsson will be able to use...
he just has to take it to the second round.
Yeah, he really does. He'll be able to use that reach. I think 3 minutes,
and all of a sudden this guy's having a heart attack.
Right.
He's going to labor.
Shogun gets hit way too easily now. He has no head movement whatsoever. Yeah, I have Gustafsson probably winning that fight fairly.
And getting a title shot.
Yeah.
Either Dan Henderson or John Jones.
Do you really think Dan Henderson has... I mean, okay, everybody to a certain extent has a
puncher's chance.
Has a shot, yeah. But
H-bomb. I think he's going to get beat. He's going to get a beat down just like everybody else that has faced John Jones has gotten. Sorry,
Yeah.
I don't have much hope for Dan Henderson winning that fight.
How much would that fuck up the UFC's plans if Dan Henderson won?
I
mean, with Jones
yeah,
getting a Nike deal right now, I mean, to have him lose his title right now would just be...
if Dan Henderson wins this fight, it's a fluke. And John Jones will get the title back eventually. And then you can, Dan Henderson with the title can maybe do some business. In the twilight of his career, he beats John Jones. And then he's going to lose soon enough. And John Jones will be back in the mix. It could be a good thing because that division is completely stagnant. Alexander's going to have a shot at the title. But really, John Jones has wiped out the elite of the division. They're just creating new challengers. And, you have Dan Henderson in there. And he's, got the prayer. It's just, and that's all it is. Everyone that thinks it's not like, how does Dan Henderson match up with John Jones? It's, can he land the H-bomb? If he lands the H-bomb, he can knock John Jones out.
That's a good point.
If he lands the H-bomb, I mean, that's the entire
argument.
That's the entire hope you have for this guy winning the fight. And if he does that, I don't want to call it a fluke because he practices that, but it's fluky enough that, it's not going to, John Jones fights Dan Henderson. John Jones is going to win like 8 or 9 out of 10 times.
Right.
Or fight 10 times. Like John Jones is going to win a huge majority of those fights.
Terrence from Southeast just tweeted me to say that he disagrees. He thinks that Nate Diaz is not with our decision that or discussion that Nate Diaz was a draw. I don't know if he to reiterate, I don't know if Diaz is reality.
I mean, is the argument that Carlos Condit was a draw?
I mean, that pay-per-view did 400,000, which, in 2009 would have been ridiculous, or 2010 or whatever year it was that they had.
That's a real good number for now, and especially with Carlos Condit. You have to look at the fight and say that's Nick Diaz drawing that by himself.
Yeah.
That's what he did. He drew that by himself for a fake title. It wasn't GSP. That was just people that wanted to see Nick Diaz. He's not a John Jones draw. He doesn't have a title. But there's so much potential in both those guys. We'll see. We'll see what plays out. I think a year from now, especially if Nate can win in December, limitless as far as the potential for promoting these two.
And I hear what you guys say about Anderson Silva versus Nick Diaz, but I still want to see that damn fight. I know it's never going to happen. I think that would be an exciting ass fight, and I think that would be an amazing super
Anderson
fight.
would destroy him, though.
I don't know if I think Anderson would win, but I think it would be the first time we ever see Anderson Silva actually get like
He's too big.
End up in a tit for tat with somebody.
Anderson has fought at light heavyweight, and he's a decent sized light heavyweight. Even though Nick has fought at middleweight, I think there's just too much size.
You got to be poo-pooing on stuff. Well, can't we have special provisions? Can't we make this a super fight with special provisions where neither one of them can weigh in more than 200 pounds on the day of the fight or something like that?
The super fight itself that I'm most interested in, I think, is probably George St. Pierre against Anderson. I think those are the closest, that if they fight each other, it's really up in the air. I think if Anderson fights John Jones destroys Anderson. I think if Anderson fights Nick Diaz, Anderson destroys Nick Diaz. But if Anderson and GSP fight, especially if it's at a lower weight and not at 185, if it's at some catch weight or even 170, which people are suggesting, and Anderson has fought there before.
Has he really?
Yeah, a long time ago. Super skinny.
I don't know if he could. First off, I don't even know if he could make 170 now.
If he did, though, that would be a fucking interesting fight. Interesting fight at 170 or wherever it took place. Except 185, I think Anderson's.
Well, 185, I think Anderson Silva would destroy George St. Pierre. At 170, I have Anderson Silva destroying George St. Pierre. I do not have George St. Pierre winning that fight in any way, shape, or form.
Who knows what George St. Pierre is going to look like when he comes back, too. This may not be the same George St. Pierre. Maybe he'll be exciting now. Ha!
That'd be nice, right?
What happened? His injury forced him to become an exciting fighter. He can't take anyone down anymore. Oh, no.
Oh, Lord. I really am just, it's interesting. It's an interesting matchup that at one point everybody seemed to be clamoring for, and I don't really think fans are quite as hot to trot about that matchup anymore.
Because the dude hasn't fought in 2 years.
Yeah, my brother was like, he's still champ? Like,
like we discussed that like a year ago. I was like, how can you even call this guy champion? He's retired as far as I'm concerned.
Terrence is saying, remember the Diaz Condit card was in February, so that's not a fair example. I don't understand what is that. The fact that it was in February have to do with anything. Terrence, call us. Stop tweeting me and call us.
I don't understand that point, Terrence, at all.
410-988-6525. Yeah.
It's like, is that MMA month?
It's MMA month.
That was in February. That's when everybody buys pay-per-views.
They took away Black History Month to make it MMA month. Oh, they totally would.
Crackers.
Who's they? If you don't know who they are, then you are that.
Man, yeah, that's right. It's you.
Yeah.
You.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Just like if you don't know who your ugly friend is, you're most likely it.
Hating everyone again. I love it.
Man, I am all about just. Oh, I'm sorry. I got to stop being judgy. That's gonna be
this show could never survive like an hour on terrestrial radio. It would be like, okay, that's it. Get them off the air. Get them off the air. The FCC is fining us. They fined us $500,000 already.
I feel like
only 30 seconds.
Sorry, guys. Our bad.
They're talking about dicks.
We didn't bring up dicks yet, and
and Cohee's not here.
Yes.
Look at that. I think we know who keeps bringing up cock.
I think we found a pattern here. Yeah.
And right now he's out at the estate of one Joe Silva.
Oh yeah. Right. He's supposedly
Tate.
He's supposedly in Ocean City, Maryland. Supposedly.
He's giving foot massages to Joe Silva.
Cohee's going to kill you, right? He's going to listen to this, and then he is going to kill you.
I just want to test to see if he's listening.
Well, if he wasn't before, now he is.
Call Justin. Call in Terrence. Explain to us what February has to do with MMA pay-per-views doing well.
Oh, he was. Terrence replied and said that was the Super Bowl weekend card. I'm still not sure I
Yeah,
understand.
people aren't buying any UFC pay-per-views automatically at all these days. If they were at one time, like, if it was like, okay, that's the big Super Bowl weekend card, those times have changed. Like, if this show didn't have a fight people wanted to see, it would have done shit.
Right.
People paid to see Nick Diaz. That's the bottom line for that card. If you looked at the hype leading up to it, all you cared about was Nick Diaz. Carlos Condit he's an impressive fighter, but as a personality, there's not much going on.
Yeah, no, and that is definitely the biggest problem with Carlos Condit and the UFC is
there's no charisma.
There's no charisma at all.
No charisma. And that was Nick Diaz selling the fight himself.
Yeah. All right. What else do we have on our little docket? Docket.
Oh, Lesnar Overeem being downgraded as far as buys go.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I think that's good. So if you haven't heard, Dave Meltzer came out. When was this? Day before yesterday, or it was relatively soon.
Wednesday.
So
Wednesday's newsletter, and I missed it.
So Meltzer is coming back to say that the original numbers for Lesnar versus Overeem, I think it was, what was it, 700,000 was?
800. It was like 800,000 was the original estimate. And it's been downgraded to 535,000, I think.
The shame about it is, I think, I don't agree with Cohee's sentiments that he thinks Meltzer is a blowhard. I don't think that at all. I think as much as we've talked about... Pretentious
was added in there. We could discuss that.
I don't think
Dave is one of the most unpretentious people.
He doesn't seem pretentious to me. I mean, the fact that he came on our little lowly show with like 4 people listening more than once, yes, is if anything proves that he's not pretentious or a blowhard. But I think it's fair to discuss that. And I was looking at comment sections, and now people are starting to wonder.
You should never do that.
Yeah, you did.
Never ever look at an internet website's comment section.
Oh, especially in the regular news. I can't do it at all. Like any article about Obama, I have to not read the comment section.
Don't. Yeah, it brings out.
I don't know what's wrong with America, where they think it's okay to call people all kinds of racial names on the internet. Say it to somebody's face.
Anonymous.
Yeah. Say it to somebody's face. If you really feel that strongly about it, don't be a chicken shit and say it over the internet. Piece of shit. Anyway, so sorry. We do it on air all the time. See, we're not chicken shits. We'll do it. You want to come in and
Erika
sit here with...
spews her racism against Asians on every episode. You could tune in anytime you want to hear something like that. She's not doing it as an anonymous person on some internet message board.
Nope.
No, it's right here.
It's right here, raw and real. That's what we are, raw and real. So the fact that Meltzer, do you think it was smart for Meltzer to make that correction? First off, I can understand that there's an upside and a downside to that. Of course, the upside being, if you really were mistaken and the numbers were not accurate, as a journalist, it is your duty to essentially say, hey, I kind of fucked up here. These are the actual numbers. I don't know if it was his mistake or somebody else's mistake, whoever messed up, but it was Dave Meltzer was the one who originally reported the numbers. So him coming back and saying that these are not the right numbers, but it was such a huge difference between the numbers he originally reported and the ones that he's saying it is now. I've seen a lot of people saying, well, how do we know that any of the numbers he's given us are even remotely accurate with this kind of disparity in these numbers? So what do you have to say to that, David? Like, how do you address these folk, these peoples?
Well, the UFC is not a publicly traded company, so they don't release numbers.
No.
But I think if Dave was wildly misreporting numbers, we'd hear about it.
We would have heard about it.
And he has integrity, and of course he's going to report with the new numbers when he gets them. He's always said that the early estimates are just that, estimates. I've never seen them change so wildly. I mean, this is incredible. This is like a third. It's like 33%. It's gone down, and I don't know how that happened, but unless it turned into some type of pattern where he's reporting early numbers, usually like within a week of the pay-per-view. And he's getting all these numbers, I think, from the cable companies. Because again, UFC doesn't release any of these numbers. But unless this happened more than once, because I look at it as an anomaly. And, I'm a big Dave Meltzer fan, and I've been reading him for 25 years. And I trust and value his opinion. And if this turned into a pattern, then it would be, then it's troubling. But then you can also say, look, he does always say it's early estimates. And, the final numbers come in and they could be adjusted. And they usually just don't adjust that much. But
that's not
never,
that's not an adjustment. That's just wrong. Like the number is just wrong. It's not an adjustment. Yeah,
exactly. This is crazy.
It is.
I don't know exactly how it happened, and it was only a paragraph in the newsletter, and it really didn't deal with how the number varied so wildly, but was more along the lines of analyzing why Brock Lesnar's not the draw that he once was. But I'm with you. I think I'd really like to know why they got it so wrong.
Yeah.
And, it is interesting, like what happened. It was a Friday night. I'm sure that played into it. Lesnar had already lost the title. I'm sure that played into it as well. Overeem wasn't that well known. But it's huge. It's huge. And it still did really, really, those are good numbers, especially in this time period.
Yeah.
But didn't do the 800,000 that we thought. And it also made me think of something, but I think Dana White made the comment a lot farther back in time for it to have been related to this. But there was one point where Dana said that George St. Pierre is the biggest draw in UFC. But I think it was before that. So I don't really think one related to the other. But I think it's interesting now because it does become pretty clear that, Lesnar was not, at least not a super draw. He wasn't so far ahead of the pack. John Jones is probably as big a draw. And again, you have to take into account the Friday night.
Yeah.
It was a Saturday night.
And I remember us talking about that when we were doing our little kind of predicting what the numbers were going to be. We were saying the fact that this is on a Friday night is first off stupid. It was really just, I understand why they made the decision. Like on paper, it made sense why they made the decision. With the New Year's being on a Saturday and, it makes it difficult to.
We need to discuss Alistair Overeem's scheme. That just didn't play out, but we need to discuss that too.
Well, okay, so let's segue from this Overeem Lesnar card to Overeem testing positive or testing for elevated testosterone levels, not being able to fight Junior Dos Santos for the title at 146. And now apparently he's got some sort of secret squirrel plan to get his licensing back. And
it's already been shot down.
Yes. Yeah, it has.
That's great. He's on MMA Uncensored. He looked very sure of his lawyers and himself. We're going to look for time off for good behavior. He's testing himself whenever he wants, sending the results to the UFC or to the commission, and then he wants to go to the commission after this is a guy who hightailed to Holland to miss one test, was going to leave the arena another time until he was told it would just count as a failure, and now he wants to try to claim that he's got good behavior and should be allowed to fight early so he could be billed in the late December fight with JDS. It's kind of remarkable just listening to this. And until Kaiser shot it down, I was like, if this happens, oh my, there's no credibility at all for this commission.
No, and the likelihood of a guy coming off of a suspension getting a title shot immediately like that is...
Dana was going to do it, though.
Oh, God.
Dana, that's why they were delaying the Kane fight. Overeem talked his way into the position. They were prepared. If the commission would have went along with this nonsense, the problem is Overeem can't seek his license until 3 days before the fight. So the UFC they just can't as far as credibility goes. You cannot bill a title fight with a guy who you're not certain is going to be relicensed. They're just not going to do that. So Overeem wanted to get licensed early so he could be licensed, way before that fight so they can book the fight and promote it.
Right.
I'd rather see Kane anyway. I think I think Kane versus JDS was fluky the first time. They were both hurt. I want to see them fight now, and I'm not sure JDS is going to win this. So, I think Kane's going to, so I can't wait for that fight.
I'm glad you said that because I 100% believe Cain Velasquez is going to win back the title.
Kane's the man. Kane's fucking awesome. Kane is awesome, people.
He looked off in that fight against JDS, and the fight only lasted, 60-something seconds. That wasn't enough time to really gauge how much better, quote-unquote, JDS was than Cain in terms of skill level. It was a fluky overhand that caught Cain behind the ear, knocked him down. JDS.
And when you say fluky, I know you're the same as I am. I mean, JDS landed that shot.
He trains.
Good stand up.
Yeah, he trains to do that.
He trains to do that. But it doesn't tell you what a long fight between these guys, what's going to happen. And we saw what Cain did to Antonio Silva, and we see what Cain has been doing.
Oh yeah, it wasn't even what Cain did to Antonio Silva. It was when they were going to wave off the fight, where they made Cain stand up and go to his corner or go to a neutral corner, and he was standing there, and the look in his eyes was the most scary look I've ever seen on a human being. Like, I imagine that's what it looks like to stare in the eyes of a serial killer, because the look in Cain's eyes was death, destruction. I will eat your soul. And I love JDS for being the nice guy that he is, but I have confidence in Cain being able to come back.
And we should also note that Cain had become a pretty big draw in Hispanic markets, and if he gets that title back, that can happen again. I mean, a much bigger draw than JDS has shown himself to be.
Yes.
Cain was did huge numbers, and then he lost on TV, but that can all turn around again very quickly. And he could be and it's funny because, he doesn't really have the personality for it, but, sometimes.
But he's a scary dude.
And factors. He's so scary.
I think that's what would sell him. He wouldn't need to have a gimmick or have a lot of personality. People would just look forward to watching him fight just to see that look on his face.
And let's just segue back to this past UFC, which doesn't look to have done really well.
No.
And Frankie Edgar, this is a guy that fights with all his heart, but doesn't seem to be able to connect with fans. And I think part of it's personality, but I think another part of it is, okay, you have the aberration with Gray Maynard, you finish that fight, but otherwise, Frankie Edgar, you're pretty much guaranteed 5 rounds. And that doesn't have the allure for, like, the masses. We may like that, especially if it's a good fight.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, too, George St. Pierre doesn't finish fights either, and he's this huge draw. So I wonder what's going on there. Like, Frankie Edgar just never connected at all.
No, and he has a very loyal fan base on top of that, which is the weird part, is that there seems to be a very large Frankie Edgar fan base, but it doesn't come through in the pay-per-view numbers at all.
Yeah, and, any champion's going to have that cult following, whether it turns into something more. I guess I think Meltzer had an analysis, and the conclusion at this point is that no one under 170 is drawing anything right now. When you look at Frankie, and then you look at Jose Aldo,
and I think
Dominic.
152 card is going to do awful in Toronto. I think the turnout from the Canadian fans is going to be
is that
fantastic.
Cope and Aldo?
No, it's 152 is the flyweight championship between Benavidez and Johnson. Yeah, I don't think.
But didn't they lose? Was it Rory BJ that they lost?
Yes.
Yeah, that's because that's what I was referring to earlier. I was going to buy that pay-per-view, and then when Rory BJ was removed, I'm not going to pay for that show. So the next show I'm looking at actually buying was in October. They had had a really damn good card that I was looking at. I can't even remember who's on top, but that's what she said. But no, there's an October pay-per-view that looked damn good. If it turns out that way, though, you can't even count on when you have a card that's like more than a month away, even if it's just a few weeks away. We can't count on these fights taking place. It's
And the shame of it is that they had the card with BJ Penn and Benavidez and Johnson. But BJ Penn and Rory McDonald weren't headlining that card though. I can't imagine they would have had a non-title fight headlining a bout.
No, but it would have been a co-main event, and you could have focused on it on the countdown show. Yeah,
I'm and this may be just because I'm a hardcore fan. I'm looking forward to Bisping and Stan. I think that's going to be a hell of a fight between those two guys. But again, I don't know how that's going to translate to pay-per-view numbers. I think hardcore fans are looking forward to that fight. I'm
looking forward to it, but I'm not $55 looking forward to it.
Well, you need one more fight, don't you?
Yeah, the BJ Rory fight. Yeah, and Brian Stan and Bisping is that's on the edge of something that I want to pay for.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not a big Bisping guy at all.
Wouldn't you watch it just to see Bisping get KTFO?
Get his ass kicked?
Yeah.
I think Bisping's going to win the fight.
I mean, I think do you really? Do you think he's going to win the fight?
Yeah, I think Bisping's going to win this fight.
I don't know. I think Stan might surprise us in this fight.
Watching him get knocked out like Dan Henderson did, I would pay to see that. If I knew that was going to happen,
I mean, Stan hits really hard. Stan's got some good. He's got a really decent stand up.
Kind of sad though. You're I want to pay to watch this man actually get knocked out because I dislike him so much.
And I don't dislike Bisping as much as I used to.
Yeah, I don't dislike him as much as I used to because I think I've seen less of him. When he was on, he actually the season of The Ultimate Fighter that he was
the coach.
Participated, not the coach. When he was on the show itself.
Oh, the season 3 wasn't that season?
There
3?
were outtakes on the DVD. They show you outtakes from thousands of hours of footage they've shot.
Right.
And I don't even remember it exactly. I don't remember the specific nature of it. But he said something really racist to one of the black guys on the show. It was
bad.
It was degrading. Yeah, it was totally condescending. It bothered me. I can't remember the exact nature of it.
Apparently,
not
nobody.
a lot of people saw it because it was outtakes on the DVD. I was like, you motherfucker.
Yeah. Oh.
What the fuck, you fucking racist bastard? What the hell?
Yeah. I am usually the last person to pull the whole patriotic nationalist kind of card, but I'm going to be rooting USA during that fight. I definitely will be rooting for Brian Stan to win. I think you're right. I think Bisping technically is superior to Brian Stan, but I think he falters in situations like this, and we might end up with actually a horrible fight. It might end up being a lot of clinch work against the cage and knees to the thighs. And
I'll do some MMA math, which obviously, let's give the caveat, doesn't necessarily work.
Right.
But, Chael Bisping versus Chael Stan.
I mean, that's true. Bisping did a lot better.
It doesn't always work. It doesn't always work. But Bisping, I think, falters when he goes against the top guys. Stan is not that guy. Stan could win.
Right.
It could be a really exciting fight. I think I do favor Bisping fairly largely, but Stan can hit hard.
Oh, Terrence from Southeast is saying Michael Bisping is a self-promoting, overhyped company man. Self-promoting company man, overhype. I think Bisping is top 10 middleweight for sure. Top 5, no. Top 10, definitely.
But he's a draw in the UK, so he's overhyped. So is Dan Hardy. He's overhyped as well. But you're going to overhype guys that have a cult following.
Yeah.
Or have a nationalistic following.
That's where the business side of the UFC either rubs fans the wrong way or it gets them more fans. They recognize, like Pat Barry. Pat Barry, as much as I like Pat Barry, his personality, he seems like such a nice guy. He's not a good fighter.
He's super nice. He's like the Team Lloyd Irvin guys have all hung out with him. He was super, super cool guy. Everybody was raving about him. Nicest guy. Like fucking Pat Barry's a super cool dude.
Right.
But okay, it's rubbing fans the wrong way. I don't know what these fans are talking about because that's what fighting has been before MMA. That's what Muhammad Ali was.
Right.
In boxing 40 years ago. That's what it is. You have to promote. It can't be pure sport because no one gives a shit because you could have two guys fighting on the street.
Right, exactly.
Like you need to get invested in the personalities. And that's why Chael Sonnen has succeeded at the level he has. Probably more than, his skills would normally allow.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He fought a great fight against Anderson Silva, who was injured. Let's keep that in mind. And then Anderson tore him apart in the second round in the second fight. And that's what Chael Sonnen is. And then Chael had a not very impressive fight with Michael Bisping, who's a second-tier guy. But Chael Sonnen has talked his way into becoming a major star.
Have you seen? I don't know if you read this, but the Chael Sonnen back and forth on Twitter between John Jones and himself, that was hilarious.
I did not, but he may talk himself into a quick fight with John Jones if he beats Forrest.
I think
easily beat Forrest.
I think he'll beat Forrest, even though he lost to Forrest the first time. Forrest is not been the same guy.
Different time.
Yeah, that was 2003. That was damn near 10 years ago, people. So let's get real.
And the funny thing is, Chael's older than Forrest, but in fight years, Forrest is older.
Yes,
Forrest has given up in a lot of ways, and Chael is still ambitious. He's still climbing that mountain, still hungry.
As charismatic as Chael Sonnen is, I think in terms of fallback careers, I think Forrest has a much better one than Chael. Chael will be able to sell fights and sell himself in those fights. I don't know how well Chael's book did, but I can't imagine did nearly as well as Forrest Griffin's. Forrest has that humor that allows him to.
Chael has pro wrestling training background. He's actually done it already, so.
He may be able to fall back on that. Will he be successful at it? I don't. You never know until he tries. You don't know. Well, the fans, but in terms
he's making some money now, so I don't know what he may just retire.
Yeah.
Run a gym. He's making some bank on that Anderson fight, the second one especially.
Yeah.
He made enough money that he doesn't have to ever fight again, I would bet.
Okay, let's real quick. Let's segue to the Mayhem Miller incident.
Oh Jesus!
Incident.
I feel bad for him.
I do too. He not too long before this whole getting arrested thing happened, he got into a tiff with Dana White on Twitter. Although I think Dana White actually handled himself really well in that little back and forth. He didn't get defensive in a sense that in the typical Dana White way. I think Dana White may be privy to more things that are going on with Mayhem Miller than the rest of us are. Because I thought that was unusual that he didn't really attack Mayhem Miller. He kind of just.
Yeah, there's obviously a lot going on.
Yes.
And I forget who said it, but someone that knows him said he wasn't surprised. And how can you not be surprised that this happened? It's kind of absurd.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised. He's not surprised that Mayhem had a breakdown. And, it's kind of funny in the abstract. And especially on this show. We like to make fun of things, but I really do feel bad for him.
Yes.
And it's a funny story. He's naked and he's running around with a fire extinguisher. It's ridiculous. It's surreal. But, he is, and I'm not a big fan of Mayhem Miller to begin with, but I do hope he's getting help and that he's all right.
Yeah, because, I'm looking at an article that's talking about it. He was found naked in a church in
it's ridiculous.
Viejo, California.
Like the start of a joke.
Mission Viejo.
Man walks naked into a church.
And the priest says, "Kneel and pray, my son." So he was arrested
and he
there.
The priest the holy sacrament.
We can go on. We can go on for a while with this one. I got some Holy Ghost jokes that'll really kill you right there.
Father, Son, and Casper.
One of the tweets that Mayhem Miller sent to Dana White was, "Kill yourself, Dana White. We are all begging you." And the fact that Dana White didn't
kill himself, I wasn't surprised.
The fact that Dana White didn't just come on a full on attack on Mayhem Miller shows
indicates that he probably knows
something.
This guy had some mental issues.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not often I get to say.
Hey, look, this may have been a real cry for help when they said kill yourself, Dana White. Not to be top psychiatrist, but I did take 4 semesters of psychology. Mayhem himself might be suicidal, so perhaps to save his life. Yeah.
So wait.
I offered that out there. I'm psychoanalyzing the man.
That we don't even know. Yeah, that's fair enough.
That we don't know, and I have absolutely no credentials or basis to do this, but yeah, that's what I'm going to suggest. I'm going to suggest that Mayhem Miller, when he said, Dana White, go kill yourself, was actually speaking to himself.
Oh, wow. That's real deep, man. That's a little too deep for this show. It's a little too deep for this show. Quick, make a penis joke.
Where's Cohee? Where's Cohee and Joe Silva?
I don't know. Off enjoying the beach, I imagine. So Terrence from Southeast just tweeted me, and he says, and I quote, Erika, give me some of what you smoking. Bisping isn't a top 10 middleweight.
Is not a top 10 middleweight?
Yeah, I think he definitely is. Like, who else would you have? Terrence, you keep tweeting me, man. Call me. 410-988-6525, because I think you might be the one who needs to hook me up with whatever you're smoking if you think Bisping's not a top 10
either of you is smoking something good and you haven't shared with me, I'm very disappointed.
That is actually the biggest problem that we're going to be facing right now, is that for some reason both Terrence and I are smoking stuff and we're not sharing at all.
With Dave.
And that could get us in trouble. All right, so...
I don't, it's not saying so much about Bisping. I don't know if I can name 9 guys ahead of him. I think he's pretty damn close to a top 10.
Yeah. Let's see.
Go to those rankings.
Yeah.
USA rankings.
Yeah. So it's actually SB Nation is no longer partnered with USA Today. They have partnered with MMA Junkie now. So it's still the consensus rankings where they basically poll a bunch of different MMA journalists and websites.
Oh, you made a penis joke.
They average out the rankings, and this is how they create their ranking system. So, they have Michael Bisping at number 5. I think that's a little high, but who else is there that you think is better than Michael Bisping? I think Michael Bisping. Oh wow, they have Tim Boesch at number 4. That is interesting. Bosch's stock went seriously up. Mark Munoz has absolutely no place being in the top 10 of anything.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Hey, you're on the FanAddicts MMA Show. Who are we talking to?
Yeah, it's MMA on the reg.
What's going on, MMA on the reg? How you doing, man?
I feel like I'm talking to myself.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy, right?
Crazy.
But a couple of things that I want to go over. First of all, I think Erika gives a little bit, I think she's got a hitting crush for Brian Stan. And I say this going back to the comments where she was saying how much better he was than Randy Couture and whatnot. So I think
I remember that discussion.
I still think he's better than Randy Couture. Do we not? Are we all like glossing over the fact that Randy Couture is 19-10 as a fighter? If he was anybody else, that'd be a shitty record. But because he's Randy Couture, he's amazing.
It's MMA.
He's amazing.
Fighters he fought.
19-10. You know who else is 19-10? You know who else? DeMarcus Johnson. Are we gonna start hailing him as being this amazing fighter as well? I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, but he never won championships.
That's true. I don't even think he could win win a stuffed bear to fair.
Would never have beaten Chuck Liddell in Chuck Liddell's prime. Would never have happened. Never have come close to that level of victory.
The reason I call those actually 2 things. One is that I think that with Meltzer making the error, because he's definitely 100% credible over many years, and there are people that have been watching him for years trying to make him look as though he is incredible, and he's always come out correct. But I think when there's such a big change, and clearly he made a horrible mistake, he really needs to say why that mistake happened, so this way we know that the new numbers are credible. What's to say that these new numbers are any bit more credible than his first mistake? So I think that there should be a little bit more information given out, but by and large, I think it's a good thing that, he just didn't say fuck it, you know. He didn't have to say anything.
Yeah.
And so that's honorable in itself. And the other thing I wanted to just kind of throw at you, and just then I'll go and listen so you guys can discuss it, is with Frankie Edgar. Obviously, you're right. I mean, I'm a big Frankie Edgar fan, but I also understand that, you know, the limitations, that he hasn't really resonated to bring in the big dollars. And if he has, it's only probably because he's been fighting, let's say, a BJ Penn or another, or been on a hype card or something. Would it make sense for him right now just to play a progressive move and say that he goes over and fights a match against Gilbert Melendez in Strikeforce so he would hype his brand by doing that. And then if he wins, he kind of have an under-the-table deal. With that win, he could go back and get another title shot at 155. But if he loses, he has to drop down to 145 at that point. So this way they could kind of put see where Gilbert Melendez is and give him something to build him. So when his contract ends at Strikeforce, they could bring him over with even more hype. Kind of do something with Edgar, and then also kind of give him if you don't beat Gil, you have to go down.
I like that idea, actually. I like the idea of using Frankie Edgar, even though he's not a huge draw. I still think he's a bigger draw than Gilbert Melendez, and the comparison between Showtime numbers and pay-per-view numbers is absolute bullshit. Like there is no comparison between the two numbers. Showtime is a paid channel, but there's a big difference between people who are really willing to pop $60 for one night to watch a fighter, and guys who are willing to just tune into a station they already have, that they're already paying for. But I think that's a good idea to use Frankie Edgar as a way of trying to gauge where Gilbert Melendez is. I like that. What do you think, David?
And also, even worst case scenario, you say, listen, let's say we can't give you an immediate title shot even if you beat Gil, but then you're guaranteed one more win at 155 after a win over Gil, and then you get that title shot again. Versus if you don't win, you're definitely not cut out for 155, and you're going down, and then we'll play it from there.
Yeah, and I think Frankie just needs to go down to 145. I know he doesn't want to, and I think it's 130% a pride thing.
Why does he need to? I'm gonna jump in and say, why does he need to when he's more than competitive with everyone at 155, and most of the people think he won this last fight?
I don't think it's about winning or losing at this point. I think you can create some more interesting matchups at 145. If you have a guy like this who's this talented, who can't seem to get back into the title shot, and I've talked about this with some of the guys that I work with at Fight Metric, and other than at heavyweight, we cannot find an instance where a person has won the title back after losing it in any other weight class. It just doesn't happen. It really doesn't happen. I don't know if that's because judges.
George St. Pierre.
That's the only other example is the George St. Pierre fight, and then heavyweight. It seems to happen no problem. But
Chuck Liddell win it back?
Say what?
No, he wasn't champion when he lost.
No.
But in any case, he fought so beyond close, where most people seem to think he won this last fight. He should be one fight away from another title shot here. I mean, if he would have been soundly defeated, that's one thing. But here's a guy, he beat BJ Penn when no one else did. Then he beat Maynard, and now he fought ridiculously close with the champion. I think saying that he has to go down to 145 when he doesn't want to cut weight, and he succeeds at 155. I mean, who does he lost to? The champ? I think it's a little presumptuous for us to say he needs to go to 145.
Okay, fair.
When I was saying that, I wasn't saying that he would have to go to 145 now. I obviously think that he's more than capable of fighting, and there's something to be said of not having to drop a lot of weight. But I was saying if he went over to Strikeforce, wound up losing to Gil, then at that point, it would be almost ridiculous for him not to go down.
If he beats Melendez, then what? He's Strikeforce champion?
No. It's more like one of these mirror things. If he beats him, then he comes back to UFC 150. He comes back to UFC and gets an automatic title shot.
And what's Melendez? Melendez is champion.
Yeah, he just gets. You don't have to worry about that.
I don't know.
But I mean, what is he going to do? I mean, why wouldn't Melendez want the best fights he could get? I mean, as much as Healy is bringing.
But I'm not sure that Showtime is going to go for that to begin with. I don't think they want their.
No, Showtime probably won't. That's a great point.
Frankie is going to want to go fight in Strikeforce.
Well, but Mir does, though, you know what I mean? If Mir can go over there, like, then Frankie should, like, listen, Frank, like,
Yeah,
how much I
Mir
get, like,
is
Frankie,
shit, though. Mir is shit. Mir is getting his ass kicked.
you're right.
He is. He's totally gonna.
Frankie Edgar just fought an incredible fight with the champion of his division. I think he's one fight away from getting another title shot.
I didn't think it was a good.
It might be faster if he did the strike force and got that guaranteed versus having to go to the back of the line kind of thing. That's shitty as that would be for him.
I don't know. I think there are too many problems with putting Melendez in there with someone who could beat him and then walk back to UFC and leave.
All right. Well, David, who would you like to see Frankie Edgar fight at lightweight to get another shot?
Of me?
Either one of you. If that's the case, then who would Frankie Edgar fight?
Anthony Pettis, Joe Lozon.
Well, Pettis is already fighting
Donald
Cerrone.
I mean, there's a few different people that he like. Has he fought? Let me think. Like, I guess like somebody like maybe a Barboza, a Dunham.
If Dunham wins this fight, because he's fighting on 152 against T.J. Grant, I guess if Dunham wins impressively, then maybe that is a good matchup to make. Because I think Dunham is a really solid fighter. I think he's a solid prospect. He got hurt there for a while and was out for I think he might have even been out for a year. But he lost to Melvin Gillard, but it was a very unusual fight for him. But I think he looks good. That might be a fight. It might be too much of a step up for him, but I like that. Or maybe Diego Sanchez back at 155 against
that's a great one.
Frankie Edgar. That's one of the Cohee suggestions in Cohee's corner.
What about Guida?
Say it again.
Clay Guida.
Yes, he has Clay Guida there too. Clay Guida or Jim Miller. Rematch with Jim. I think he already fought Jim Miller, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
A rematch with Jim Miller. I like the Diego Sanchez fight because I think that might add a little bit more personality to the fight. Or Clay Guida.
That Diego Sanchez suggestion that you just made is awesome. I forgot about that he's coming down. That would be an excellent fight.
Yeah, and I think that might resonate better with people. Maybe get slightly higher numbers for that. Although I don't think that would headline anything. I think it would co-headline at most. But I don't think Jim Miller and Frankie Edgar 2 does much for anybody. I don't think it does much for the fans or Jim Miller or Frankie Edgar.
That fight doesn't even do shit for people in New Jersey. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even think that, like, it does with you. The thing with the New Jersey people is sometimes you don't want to see your own fight each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially if it's already done, and that's the whole thing. Like, they both have these small kind of bases. It would almost be like, you don't want to watch that kind of.
Yeah.
Especially because it's already been done in the past.
Exactly. Yeah. I just don't think that is something that would.
I love that Diego Sanchez idea there.
Yeah. Yeah. We need to pass it on to Cohee. I hope Cohee doesn't mind if we interrupt.
Probably doing it this weekend.
He vacation.
Maybe
with,
he could do a little pillow talk, and get that one in.
Yes. Do some
They're
favors
discussing right now.
Oh man, sorry. Cohee, realize Cohee is going to kill us, right? He is probably going to hunt us down, Kill Bill style, and eliminate each and every one of us. But bring it, Cohee.
Why would he do that?
I don't know.
He's the one that said that. What's his name? He sleeps with Joe Silva.
Yeah,
why would he call us? Like he said it, not us. We're not going to judge him like that.
Yeah, no, we love him. We love him anyway.
He's the one that says it.
We're awful people. All right, thanks for calling in.
I'll let you guys go, but thanks for having me on. I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, thank you so much, man. We'll talk to you later.
Take it easy.
What was it? Okay.
Are you distracted? You sound distracted.
I did. I was. There was a weird little message that popped up on my screen. We had so many problems with Skype yesterday during our Untethered show. I'm not even sure I want to post the episode because really a good 40% of it is us trying to figure out what the hell's going on with Mike Fagan's internet. There's a website called speedtest.net. And that usually that checks your internet ping and the upload and download speeds. And every time you tried to run it, it literally caused his computer to explode. So there was something going on in his end, and it just was an awful episode. They couldn't really get too many topics out, and maybe I'll edit it up and just cut out the parts I didn't have. That might be a good idea. Just cut out the parts that were okay. Oh, well, whatevers. Oh, I think there's one more topic that we can...
We want to discuss Ronda Rousey against Sarah Kaufman?
Yes, we do. All right, so tomorrow night, Ronda Rousey, Sarah Kaufman. The rest of the card is I mean, it starts with T.J. Cook versus Vince St. Preux. I think that if anything,
awful though, for the most part.
If anything, that is to try and get OSP a win there. No offense to TJ Cook at all. Seriously, no offense to you, but I think that's the strike force that's what they're hoping for. Lumumba Sayers versus Anthony Smith. Who's Anthony Smith, first off? And quite frankly, who's Lumumba Sayers? I mean, I know who he is, especially since he showed up at UFC 150 looking like an extra on Touched by an Angel. And that all-white outfit he was wearing, it was very strange. It was very, very strange. It made him stand out, and the camera, people caught people's attention. I guess that was the smart part of it, but it was a little weird. Roger Bowling and Tarek Seferdine. I'm actually kind of looking forward to that fight. I think it'll be an interesting fight. I'm glad this isn't a pay-per-view because I certainly would not pay for a card like this at all. I wouldn't even pay $10 for this. But Roger Bowling and Tarek Seferdine should be a good back-and-forth fight. Jacare has not been a very exciting fighter for me. I still love him, but Derek Brunson and Jacare, I think that's going to be a snooze fest. I think it's going to be a really slow, awful fight as we wait for Ronda Rousey and Sarah Kaufman. David, what are your thoughts on this main event fight, and who are you picking to win?
I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to pick Ronda Rousey by armbar. Because I think over 5 rounds that she will get Sarah Kaufman to the ground at some point and will take her arm.
I agree with you.
That's simple.
But right? I also think that this will be the first time we actually see Ronda Rousey get an ugly face. I think Sarah Kaufman is going to be more than capable of doing what Miesha Tate was not able to do, and that was really land effective strikes. They were throwing at each other in their fight, the Miesha Tate and Ronda Rousey fight. That they definitely were throwing.
Sarah Kaufman's stand-up's on a whole other level.
Yeah, Sarah Kaufman's stand-up is really, really good, and
she's got like a guy's style.
Yes, and Ronda Rousey is going to end up getting a very ugly face going in to clinch with her and try and get the takedown. I think we're going to see Ronda Rousey actually struggle a little bit and then have to overcome something before she can get the win here. I would not be surprised if Sarah Kaufman won. How disastrous would that be, though, if Sarah Kaufman won and Ronda Rousey lost? With all of the hype that Ronda Rousey's been going through. And let me tell you something. I like Ronda Rousey. I am sick to death of her. Go away.
There's a backlash developing. And I'm not feeling it like for myself. I watched the All Access shows. And I like her personality, but seems to be some type of growing backlash. And
yeah.
I don't know I think it's related to her personality.
Well, I mean, she's kind of made herself into this. Everybody says Chael Sonnen-esque. It's not really Chael Sonnen-esque. She's not charismatic enough to be compared to Chael Sonnen, in my opinion. The only comparison is that they both talk their way to where they are. No doubt she did that, but Chael Sonnen is such a much more well-spoken, charismatic person than Ronda Rousey. They're not even in the same ballpark as each other. Ronda Rousey has gotten into the spotlight so many times by just talking shit about people, and I don't know. She contradicts herself a lot, and I don't know. I don't know. And then she was on TMZ, and then she was on Late Night with Jimmy Fallon, and then, good God, give us a break. Let us miss you. Can we miss you for a little bit? Because
so we're saying less is more with her.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I like that she'll talk shit about people, but when it's just person after person and person after person, and then Michael Phelps, and then the Kim Kardashian, and then whoever else she was talking shit about. Like, really, let's let's space these apart. These are good things, but let's space them apart a little bit better. Let's not all have them in one big lump, because I get a little tired of your mouth. I love you, Ronda Rousey. Please don't break my arm. Hey, what's going on? You're on FanAddicts MMA Show. Is this Terrence?
Of course, I was waiting for the Ronda Rousey topic. That's really why
That's
I was
what you.
back.
Okay, all right. So, what are your thoughts on tomorrow night's fight? I mean, do you think Ronda Rousey will be able to end the fight like she normally does, or do you think that Sarah Kaufman's, what I would say is superior stand-up to probably anybody Ronda Rousey has faced up until this point, is going to cause the current bantamweight women's champion a little problem?
I'm not sure. I mean, when you look at all her 5 fights, she was able to get everybody down pretty much with ease. She might have took a couple shots, but I just don't think Kaufman would be able to, get in to get her, to take her out without Rousey, taking her down and, slapping an armbar on her. So I just don't see Kaufman beating her. I would like her to beat her because, I've been tired of seeing Ronda all over TV, but I just don't see it happening.
Oh my God, you and me are on the same page. It makes me a little nauseous now. There was a point where I was excited, like, oh, look, Ronda Rousey's on TMZ. And now I'm like, Ronda Rousey is hosting TMZ? Who the fuck made that decision? Like, who said that was a good idea?
What if she's listening to our show, Erika?
She's not listening to our show. Look, we had Ronda Rousey on here before anybody knew who the F she was. We had her on here twice, actually, on FightFans Radio. This bitch will not return a phone call, a text message,
oh really?
An email, a direct message. Now we are.
Well, she is training right now.
We are way too small timey for her. I've messaged her in between training as well. So.
And that's it.
Way to forget the little people, Rhonda. Not that we actually.
I think when you look at it, a lot of people get upset. But I say, sure, she's a champion. They say, well, she beat the 135-pound champion, but also she went down in weight to fight her. And when you look at her fighting Misha Tate, it looked like a bully fighting a little schoolgirl. And that's how the fight looked to me. And I think Rousey is getting a lot of pub, because she's the pretty face. She's the new thing they want to push. But they have really relegated to not even saying anything about Sarah Kaufman. So, like you just said, if she loses, then that throws a monkey wrench in a lot of things that they're trying to do.
Absolutely.
And the whole thing about it, what are they trying to do? Because they don't have a lot of women under contract, and, so what are they trying to do? They're just going to get a cupcake opponent for Rousey to beat up?
No, they're trying to build to Cyborg against Rousey.
Right, and maybe Cyborg comes back, but, can she make 135? So it's a lot of things you got to look at. I was talking to another show yesterday, and the guy say, well, she deserves the push that she's getting, and maybe she do, maybe she doesn't, but she really hasn't beaten anybody yet, and they got her on all these shows. She's been on Conan, she's been here, she's been there. What if she pull a Gina Carano? Yeah, what if she leaves? What if she leaves and do moves, and then what?
Who, Ronda?
Yeah, I don't know.
Ronda's not. She doesn't have that personality.
Did Gina Carano have a personality?
But to say Gina Carano's got a personality.
Gina Carano has something that Ronda doesn't have.
See, Gina Carano has that air about her that you're like, man, I would love to spend some time with her. Ronda Rousey scares everybody.
Else. I would love
yes, I was trying to be PC.
Yep.
And it's not that people don't want to spend time, quote unquote, with Ronda Rousey, but she scares the shit out of people too much to be doing that. And she's so abrasive that she doesn't have that endearing quality that Gina Carano did. Gina Carano had this quality about her that was very innocent and very girl next door and very approachable. And Ronda Rousey does not have that at all.
You see Ronda's video for Sarah Kaufman's contest?
That was funny. I thought that was funny and very clever. I thought the video went on way too long.
But that armbar on the vacuum cleaner was hilarious.
That was funny. She could have done a better job editing it to get together. But
how does this work?
I thought it was funny. Did you see that, Terrence?
Yeah, I saw it.
It was things like that, but it was so much Ronda Rousey at that point. I was just getting tired of it. But I think we can all agree that Rousey's gonna probably do what she does best. I like Sarah Kaufman. I saw some clips from the presser. She seems like a really cool chick. Like, seriously, a really cool chick. Ronda Rousey's talking bullshit like, if I get a choke on, I'm going to choke her to death, or I'm going to rip her arm off and throw it at her corner. That's all well and good. And Sarah Kaufman was like, I'm glad that she's coming in here and she's taking this seriously, and kind of sucks that she wants to kill me, but, I think we're going to go out there and put on a good fight. That is a cool chick right there, because most of them other broads would have been stumbling over their words, trying to figure out what they were going to say, and try and meet her tit for tat. But it just kind of makes Ronda Rousey look stupid saying stuff like that when Sarah Kaufman won't play that game. And maybe that is a part of the problem with women's MMA, is that they won't play that game enough. I don't know.
Well, well, I think the problem is it seems like they pretty much, once they get one woman that they can sell, then they pretty much push her. Because if you look, when Miesha Tate was champion, you really never heard anything about her, or besides the time that she fought. Now that was it. She fought in that tournament that they had, and then she beat Morris Cooley, and that was it. But she never was pushed or anything. You never knew anything about her. And now Rousey come on the scene. Now, they got specials about her. Dana White wearing her T-shirt at the weigh-in.
Yeah.
She got all access shows. She's everywhere. But, you're trying to create a draw out of one person. But if you're going to make it work, you got to promote all the women, or at least make it look like you are. Because why is Miesha Tate fighting on the show stream card, portion of the show?
Yeah.
She should have been fighting on the main card when you got these other two jabrones fighting on the card that nobody knows. But you could have, Miesha Tate wins this fight, and if Rousey win her fight, we have a rematch. But instead, she's been blackballed to show extreme. I just don't understand what their thought process is, especially where I look at it that they can capitalize with women, and maybe, just maybe, the UFC, Strikeforce want to do their own women thing, and they can just, bring the best women in the world to Strikeforce, but I just don't understand the decision, what they do, just promoting one woman.
Well, once Invicta FC gets to a certain point, Zuffa will buy them out, and we'll have one hell of a women's division in the UFC. But until then, I don't know. It's frustrating, I think, to say the least. The attention that Ronda Rousey is getting, and what everybody else isn't getting. So I don't know. I don't know. Whatever. All right, guys. Anything else that you want to cover before we close out the show? Anything that you wanted to bring up, Terrence?
Yeah, I had one more thing. Did you guys see the UFC tonight? And now I know what the C in UFC stands for. It stands for Chael now, because he was hosting with Kenny Florian, and the subject of John Jones' Nike deal came up, and Chael, calmly said, well, you can't even feed a family of four on the money he's going to get from that deal, and it's not a big deal. It's not going to help the MMA. And Kenny Florian just went right along with it and said, yeah, it's not for a lot of money. And I was like, why are these two guys bashing a guy that's getting a super sponsorship for one of the highest, one of the highest rated endorsers in the world, and they're bashing the guy, saying the deal was for chump change and it's not going to do anything for MMA. But I thought to myself, well, what if Ronda Rousey would have got that deal? They'd have been doing cartwheels. So I just thought it was kind of strange that, you're bashing a guy in your own sport that you're trying to, elevate your own sport, but you're bashing the guy. I just didn't understand why they were doing that to John Jones. Just did not understand it at all.
I'm actually really, I did not see it, and I'm actually really disappointed and surprised to hear that, because that is, that's just kind of shitty right there. It's like crabs in a barrel. You know what I'm saying? Just pulling each other fucking down. I mean,
jealousy.
It is. It is. You can't cut it. You can't color it any other way. That is 100% jealousy, rearing its ugly head on television. How can you not be happy for the man? Because his success is MMA success at this point. And for them to say it's for chump change, maybe his Nike deal is chump change compared to other athletes who have deals with Nike, but I guarantee you, Kenny Florian and Chael Sonnen, none of your sponsors are giving you the kind of money that Nike is giving John Jones. So,
yeah. it was interesting that two guys that has never won a title match, were facing something like that for the guy that's currently the current champion.
Not only the current champion, the current dominant champion, and arguably one of the best fighters in the world right now. So I don't know. I'm
not surprised from Chael. Kenny Florian, I expect better of. Chael's an idiot.
Yeah, next time I run into Kenny Florian, I'll ask him about that because I run into him quite a bit backstage. You know what? Matter of fact, we'll close out the show with this because I think this will be entertaining, and I might have even shared the story already on air at some point, but whatever. So I was at UFC 150 in Denver. I had a fabulous time. By the way, Denver is an amazing little city, very diverse. It's a young city, so it's a little bit younger than me, but I still had fun walking around. And it's the fourth most walkable city in the U.S., if you did not already know. And my boy Michael is listening to the show right now. He just sent me a text message. Hi, Michael. Love you dearly. So we're in Denver, and we're behind stage. We're doing our thing for Fight Metric, and they have a little room for snacks for the production staff. So I take my happy ass over there to get some water or something. And Brittany Palmer is walking backstage. Now, mind you, backstage they have a whole bunch of security people. Everywhere you go, there is somebody checking your credentials that hang around your neck to make sure you're supposed to be there. Because there are people who try to be cute and get all kinds of crazy places. And so Brittany Palmer is walking around in her UFC outfit. I mean the bikini that they call an outfit for the UFC. She is walking around in that. She gets to one part of the hallway. The security woman stops her and says, "I need to see your credentials." It was the most ridiculous thing. And what was funny is, Brittany Palmer, eventually she came into the little snack room after that. She just kind of turned on her heel and didn't even say anything. And I made a comment to her. I was like, did she just ask you for your credentials? And she said, you would think the outfit would be the credentials, all the credentials I need. But apparently it happens to her quite a bit at UFC events where she's walking around in her outfit and they still ask to see her credentials. So I thought that was awfully humorous. Later on, I did see her. She was fully dressed. She'd already changed out of her outfit, and I told her I needed to see her credentials, and we had a nice little chuckle about it. So next time I see Brittany, we're going to be BFFs, and we'll get her on the show and have her talk some shit about the security backstage. But all right, well, thank you, Terrence, for calling in, man. We always love it when you call in. So keep it up, man. I know you're busy.
All right, guys. All right, I'll talk to you later.
All right, I'll talk to you later, Terrence.
All right, Dave.
Bye.
All right, okay.
That was great. I always love having Terrence on.
Man, Terrence.
All right, I think that's it for us today. I can't think of any. So. I can't think of anything else that I really am too eager to cover.
Discuss.
Yeah. But looking forward to tomorrow night. Ready to see Ronda Rousey do her thing. I think there's some more fights, some smaller fight cards happening tomorrow night as well. And then we have the next UFC event, of course, isn't until UFC 151, John Jones versus Dan Henderson. We will have a prediction show for that, of course, which is sponsored by Finishers Fantasy Fight League. Visit them on the web, fantasymmaworld.com. And a big shout out to those guys for sponsoring our prediction segment of the show. So, everybody, have a fantastic weekend. Cohee, you suck. You suck balls for not being on the show.
Joe Silva's balls.
Yeah. We love you dearly, man. So we'll talk to everybody later. Peace. We should be off air.
Let's hope. Before we start insulting people.
I insult everybody. I actually made the mistake yesterday of thinking we were off air and we weren't.
Start talking shit about someone.
Oh, good deal. Yep, we're good. All right. Oh, Jesus.